because it was a dramatic change.
Incremental reduction.
Yeah, yeah. Because it wasn't. Yeah. I would. I'll just start. That's cool. Yeah.
We're jumping in.
I didn't know I was going to talk about this till right now, but I find it fascinating.
Please.
I smoked cigarettes for either 3 or 4 years, and then quit cigarettes and started vaping nicotine for like either 2 or 3 years. Like a 6-year total span. I'm not sure where the break was, somewhere in between year 3 and year 4.
Mm-hmm.
But so smoking for a full 6 years, in my own mind, I thought I can quit and it will suck for 3, 4, 5, 7 days really bad. And then it won't be so bad. And then I'll be okay once it's not as bad as it could be.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the general thought about it, right?
Right.
So it makes logical sense.
Right. So that was just a really big cliff to jump off of. And I like walked up to the cliff and I was like, no way, people, you can't jump off of that. And then I felt like
I'm gonna die.
Yeah. And then I listened to the Duncan Trussell Joe Rogan podcast, and he just makes such a case for quitting vaping.
Duncan?
Yeah.
Because he was a big vapor for a while, right?
Yeah, he always made fun of himself, so I wasn't sure if he was over exaggerating or if he was being serious. But yeah, he said he was like, had it in his hand like a pacifier, and he was smoking it morning, afternoon, and night. Ultimately, I think that's pretty much everybody that vapes. You know what I'm saying? It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's so easy. It's so much more convenient than having to light a whole cigarette, and deal with the repercussions of having a lit cigarette on you. It's like, yeah, those things fucking suck. So you're thinking up your entire immediate self and then like surrounding circle of environment.
Yeah.
So like to not have to deal with that, it's like, oh, this is like, put it down.
It's
Come
dope,
back
right?
to it when it's ready. When I'm ready.
Yeah. There's a lot of little things, right? So like at first I quit cigarettes, and then I needed to quit smoking, but that didn't mean I was going to quit nicotine consumption. You know what I'm saying? There's all these like layers to what is the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so one of the nice perks from going from cigarettes to vapes is that thing you're talking about. There's like a grossness to smoking. Smells bad.
Yeah. Or there's like a definitely tangible negative repercussions.
Social repercussions, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are disgusted by people who smoke cigarettes. They're like, oh,
big time.
Fucking filthy.
Ugh. The disgust. A little bit.
No, yeah, real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. People are definitely like that.
So it's nice to feed my fucking... Because once you start smoking, it's like it hurts to not smoke a little bit. Like you're thinking slower and you don't feel good, and you're anxious for no reason. You know what I'm saying? And you're feeling a little like a vein of what depressed feels like, where you're just like don't feel good, just
unsettled.
Like, yeah. And then you can take one hit and you're like, oh, I feel great. I'm back. Let's go.
I'm chilling.
Yeah. And it's such a jump. So it's like there's these social ramifications. Like people's perception of you gets really distorted if you're going to not feel like shit for a second. You know what I'm saying? So, but then when you just vape, the social ramification is so much lower.
So much lower. It smells like fucking strawberries.
Come on, bro. And some people still don't want you to smoke like in their house. Like my dad doesn't like me to vape in the house out of like, he's like, bro, you just don't smoke in the house. What are you talking about? And I'm like, it's like a respect
more in
thing.
line with the spirit.
Yeah. Right?
The spirit of what that not rule exactly, but what that's trying to put in, like impress into the situation.
Yeah.
It's like the spirit of respecting the house. It's like, you don't smoke in here.
Yeah.
So even because I guess predominantly whenever we were smoking before we had electronic smoking, we were just smoking, and it would make the whole room smell. Like sometimes you do it with sage or whatever to kind of cleanse, but either way, whenever you're smoking something, it's not like lighting something on fire, it's gonna emit an odor. Something's gonna be
for sure. Are you talking about
filling up your space?
Back in the day, like in college, when we would be smoking like.
That's me like any time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we didn't care at all though, really. Like we would just like let it fly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that was part of the enjoyment of being in college was that we didn't have to play by those rules that our parents fucking.
Yeah. Whenever you have the house, whatever house you're living in, wherever you're stationed at,
Yeah,
your homestead.
because order is good, but then your parents' order makes sense to them because they built it. Like it's their order. Like it it's
You're taking part in their story.
right.
Yeah,
So
their structure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess I'm trying to describe it as like you don't that doesn't always mesh with you super easily or well, or like sometimes you're like, I hate that I have this stupid rule here. I would never make my kids have to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. hmm
And
When I'm calling the shots, it's gonna be more fun for sure. It's definitely gotten like that, or it feels like it's trending that direction. You know, I think insofar as like parenting style and type of maybe not discipline, but something like that. That whatever's kind of attached to being the parent and establishing the structure and enforcing the rules that keep the structure sound. It's like we've been doing that. That's like what parenting is. But I feel like over the last 20, 30 years, like parents, I don't know, you don't get as old as quickly, or, people don't grow up as fast, maybe to a degree. Because it seemed like whenever we were growing up, like when I was 10, if someone was 50, like they were old. They were super old if they were 50. But now it's like 50 is definitely a lot different. And I feel like that's kind of also reflected in the parenting style and like maybe like the not relaxation, but a little more ease. We don't have to be as strict. I guess it's because maybe times aren't so dire anymore. We don't have to go find our food or have to work like during the Great Depression and shit.
yeah, for sure. I don't know what. There's a lot to unpack there. Is that an accurate representation of kid raising? Is it we're a little more chill with the kids? Like for instance, when you say that
Nowadays, I think so. Right. Than like 40, 50 years ago, for sure. Right.
I know kids of the 60s and 70s would say they would just like walk around the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? They could just like.
I guess that is a little bit different of a ease or relaxation or freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Just like get in before it's dark.
Yeah,
Just
you know.
go on, get now.
And then you
Go
would.
explore with your friends.
Yeah. So I think that there's like
There's multiple things going on there.
What was the tightness that you were talking about that the older times would have had that we don't have now? Because I don't think you're wrong.
All of it stemmed from the smoking in the house idea. You know what I'm
a
saying?
lot more strict rules. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, how often were you smoking in the house back in the day versus today?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my mom's family, like my mom, aunt, and uncle, would have got like their ass beat, bro. Like they're not having that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like whatever
Not having it, dog.
when I thought about that, I was like, oh yeah, like my dad's mom too. My dad said she was like terrible when he was a kid, like super, almost abusive level, and sometimes definitely abusive level. And that was
I feel
like
like that was more common back in the day. Maybe I don't know. I like unpacking this up.
it's tight, right?
More strict.
I feel
some
like
areas.
just to make your statement like more perceivable for what we're talking about, it hit me like if you're the firstborn, then you definitely know what it's like for like the next kid, or for you even like the third kid to come along, and your parents are like way more chill with like the younger siblings upbringing. You're like, whoa, she gets to what?
Or they don't have to do that. Like,
yeah, right.
That's a big one. That your sentiment just made me immediately connect to a thought I have with in regards to one of my college roommate, one of my high school and middle school buddies, Ryan. He was the oldest, I think, of
Ryan
three.
Casey.
Yeah, my dog. Shout out
the lore of the dogs.
my dog, House Casey.
Yeah, seriously, bro.
But I fucking love that guy. But he had expressed to me that he was whenever he was growing up, he's the oldest of 3 or 4, and he was the only one out of all of his siblings that had to go to, I think it was some sort of like Sunday school or some sort of church-related school after school or some event like that, or some sort of
consistently.
Yeah, some sort of program within like some sort of like Sunday school or religious upbringing, and he was like the only one that had to do it, and like no one else had to do it.
Did he address his as a kid? I think I would be like, "Hey, what the hell?" Like, right?
Yeah.
Did they give an answer?
No, I don't think so. I think I just remember him expressing that to us in high school. At some point, he was like, "Yeah, I was the only one who had to do that shit." Like,
they'll never know.
Yeah, because I think we were talking about that idea. Because I think we were all the oldest. Me, him. I think Kyle wasn't the oldest. He had an older sister, but it was only him and his sister. But yeah, me and Ryan for sure. And who else was the oldest? We had another couple. I think one of our friends, Sarosh. I don't know. We were talking about being the oldest and how, exactly kind of what you're talking about. Like it gets the stipulations of the structures and the rules and the enforcement gets a little bit more laxed. I guess probably because you feel more safe, maybe, or like you've this is now conquered, not conquered territory, but at least known territory.
Yeah.
You've made this walk before. It's like, okay, I don't have to be as cautious, or like maybe not. Maybe every step isn't so dire.
Maybe that's the
Life or death.
combination of the, yeah, you know, some of the danger that you would be afraid of isn't necessarily there to be afraid of, and being afraid of that stuff causes like maximum energy, and then your subconscious is just like, I'm not spending energy worrying on something that I know I shouldn't be worrying about to some degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, it's not a threat.
Like, not as much as the first time when you don't know anything about
Yeah,
it.
when
You
you
know what
it's
I'm
truly
saying?
unknown, you have no idea how to handle raising a child, being an adult, or being a parent.
Yeah, I think there's probably just something about like the first. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like. It's hard to assume these things, but one thing I think about is like, if it's your first kid, you probably are like hyper locked in as a parent, and then having the second kid, it's like it's not the same experience as having the first kid because it's like all of what you thought kids was going to be like your whole life coming out on this kid growing up, and then by the time you get to the second one, it's like you've had time to reconcile what you thought about kids and what kids are, and then now you have this next kid, and that's a much shorter gap usually for people than from zero to kid one.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense why why they'd be like this
Yeah.
and then they'd be like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. It becomes more known. You definitely feel more comfortable with it. You've literally already done it before. You did that quest. Childbirth.
And you have the
There's
first
a different quest. What were you gonna say?
and you have the first kid to help you. Like I'm just like and just even if they're not helping like a lot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being there, like
Yeah.
one extra person in the room is help, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Extra set of hands.
changes the
extra set of eyes.
equation. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, and they'll help each other when they get to that age,
Yeah.
or when they're able to start communicating in a more elevated, sophisticated way.
Yeah, my sister and I just fought forever.
Mm.
And then my mom was always like, "You guys will be best friends one day." It'd be like the only people that can help each other sometimes. And then I'm like 29, and I'm just like, my mom was so right. It's
So
crazy,
right.
bro.
So right. Yeah, I love that. My mom has siblings, or she has two brothers and a sister, and it was cool growing up and going to family gatherings, and it's like seeing them interact, or it's like having that. That was like always like a kind of like a staple in my mind, like as projected forward. It's like your siblings are gonna be your homies whenever we're older, drinking, chilling, going to Super Bowl parties or going to whatever for whoever's July 4th party, doing whatever together when we're older. That's gonna be fun. I see them having fun. It's having a good time. So yeah, it was super blessed for that.
Yeah, facts.
Love that shit.
Love
But
that.
yeah, but whenever you're younger, you definitely fight.
Yeah,
There's definitely some conflict for sure across the sibling spectrum.
Yeah, because you're figuring stuff out about yourself and about life and
Other people.
yeah, and like some people, like I don't think I tried really hard to be like I don't know what the fuck the word would be. Even as a kid, it would be like naivety almost, but it would be like passive aggressive niceness, like just trying to be. I was trying to be good for goodness sake. I want to be like a good boy. I wanted my mom to be like proud of me or like think I was like a lot of my mom's like only real strict tight rules were like how we acted in public and like how we talked to each other at the dinner table and like how we acted as a family, whether we're fighting in the car on the way to places, like more like emotional intelligence stuff, which is like harder to understand as a kid, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, social interaction, behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't super like difficult to deal with. I mean, it was because like when I'm fighting with my sister as a kid, I don't really understand like like that like you ever been out of control of your emotions where you're just being like really reactive and really like quick to anger and like also there's times where you feel like you're taking everything like really personally even though it's just like stuff's just happening, you know what I'm saying? You're like she slipped and fell and broke the toy. And I'm like, you broke my toy? My favorite toy? You don't care about anything that I like. It's like, no, she just like slipped and fell.
What's your problem?
Yeah. Yeah, but as a kid, it's like...
Terrible.
you just can't conceptualize any of that. You haven't seen it enough times.
Or to remove yourself from the emotion,
Yeah.
or to disregard it, or be able to put it to the side and look beyond.
Just understand what happened, like a truer understanding. It's like harder to find.
Yeah, I guess what is that like looking for the explanation?
Yeah.
Instead of just like looking at what happened. It's like, well, how did it happen and why did it happen? And like unboxing, trying to look, trying to like comb through the reality of what's going on.
Just being fascinated by the isness of it. It's hard to do as a kid.
Yeah, but no, we're not there. It takes time.
But all that to say, like, I did fight with my sister, but for the most part, I was like a good kid. Like, I wasn't really like crossing other people's boundaries very often. Like, I tried to be respectful and just like nice. Like, I don't know. And then, but there's maybe some of even your siblings are people that are more likely to be like, it's not even a bad thing. Like, they might like cross the boundary into chaos more often than I would have, which like, they might be more likely to like sneak out or go exploring somewhere we shouldn't have gone exploring, or like,
you're saying being who? Sorry?
just other personalities within even the own same family structure. Like if your brother likes to fight all the time and you're like, I would never fight with anybody. But then nothing's necessarily wrong with your brother for having a more aggressive personality type. But just as a kid, like you don't know how to fucking negotiate with that or like manage it. You're just like exploring your own thoughts and your own brain chemistry. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So in your family, you can get like these different personality types that don't know how to be themselves, and then you're just like hashing it out as you grow up, like figuring out who they are, figuring out how you are. But I think you have to go to war, or more or less war, for some of these things. It's like when you act like that, I feel like this, and I think in the grand scheme of things, like you're wrong and you shouldn't be doing that to me.
I guess that behavior played out over time is a losing strategy.
Yeah.
Socially.
And then just dealing with that conflict, I think, is like tough and good. You know what I'm saying? It's probably it doesn't always make for like happiness all the time, because you're like fighting with your siblings, and then I would end up like fighting with my parents sometimes about like it's just like we would be in like trying to search for truth. So if I could make like a good point about like you're being unfair because this and this is what happened.
Yeah, it's like court.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure we would do that, especially when like I had like stepsisters and stuff and a stepmom. Then it became even more like, well, no one wants to be biased here. So like, and no one wants to appear biased to anybody. So if you can speak the truth,
objective truth,
we will listen.
Yeah.
And that's also a weird thing that kind of just goes on in the family structure. If you have a good balanced family structure, right? Like you can be like, Mom.
All that's predicated on that kind of first initial step.
That you're actually trying to be like a family.
A strong unit. Fucking unit, bro.
Right. Like if you're taking your kid to do something all the time and they're like, hey, I don't like doing this. Like, could we just do something else even? Like, I'd be down for like anything else, but I just don't like really doing that one thing. Like, I think it'd be hard not to listen to them, right? But that means that as a kid, it's like your responsibility to have to like learn how to fucking communicate like difficult things to talk to people about, to not be conflict adverse.
Yeah, there's a way to do it. That integration of this radical emotional thing that we are as humans. Yeah. Especially young humans, and then trying to like tame that and meld it and mold it and be able to be like the chameleon, how to work into social interactions or social environments, be not a different person, but be able to meld into different frequencies and personality types. Yeah. Being socially likable. I think Jordan Peterson talks about, just trying to make your kids like likable by the time they're 4 or whatever it is, so that people will want to help them and society will kind of be nice to them, versus the opposite. So it's important we need to get that shit going. I think having other siblings helps with that. The family unit helps with that. All that shit's important. It's our fucking society. It's what it's built on. It's people. It's fucking individuals. And strong individuals. I think strong family units create strong individuals.
I think so too.
Or everything can be. It can be.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I don't need anything necessarily.
A lot of strong people come from broken places.
To you, yeah. Some people don't have like a strong family unit, but then they're able to like kind of use that as fuels as well, and like create something better going forward for the next generations.
Yeah, but if you're going to operate like at the highest the highest frequency is the word I always use, but I'm not. It's hard to even describe what I'm saying when I say that. But like, if you're operating at your highest frequency, and you have a family, and like you have the option to organize them in what potentially could be the most beautiful way possible, I think that looks like a family unit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, some amazing people come out of broken places, but that's like all things work for good for those who love God. Like, God can reach anybody.
Yeah.
But I think if you have the opportunity to organize that, and then you can organize it into like a strong family unit with support structures and balance structures, and you're passing on the values that were the most important thing to you as you like became who you were at that point. Like, I think that's the highest good you could do there, and that's what we should be pursuing. You know, like, not just because for goodness sake, like I just said, like sometimes it's better to be aggressive than like the word that comes to mind is pussy.
21.
Yeah, because like as a kid, I was kind of a pussy. Like, it was like it's not. What am I trying to say here?
Just a boy.
It's not a noble thing to be afraid to explore. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to break rules just as a part of like the life experience, you know. But like I wasn't down to do that even. Like, just because I was, you know, that's a thing that happens. That's a personality type where you're just like, oh, it's easy to be conflict avoidant and say, oh, I'm being good. I don't want to fight with anybody because like I'm being a good boy. It's like, well, maybe you're just a pussy, you know. It's like,
That's not good.
That's not good.
Too much of that's not good.
Yeah, you want a controlled animal. That's like Jordan Peterson, Carlos. He says it all the time to me. He's like, be an animal, be a controlled animal. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like, it's like, regardless, I'm happy you're not a rabbit in the forest, but like, just freaking controlled animal. I'm like, all right, bet you got it.
Just be a lion. You ain't gotta kill nothing. You ain't gotta roar. Just be a lion.
Yeah, facts. So, damn it, all that to say,
fighting with siblings, integrating into society. It's built on individuals, and every individual has the ability to. God can find anybody.
There we go.
You can do anything.
Yes. Yeah.
I think ideally, though, in the most ideal sense, you would have a strong masculine and a strong feminine energy in your life, and they would help you integrate and teach you about who you are and who people are and how to interact and how to give and take with society, because it's not always just give and be like the bunny.
Yeah.
It's not good to do that only.
Oh yeah, we were talking about being a good boy, for goodness sake. It's not necessarily a good thing. Damn, what was the thought right before that? One that predicated that thought. It's okay. Sorry, we're just on the podcast forgetting what we're talking about. It's whatever.
Yeah, we're getting in there. We're getting lit, ready for this workout. We're gonna go hit a little different vibes today on the pod. Welcome in,
everybody.
Episode 34.
Wow.
Episode we're skipping 33. It's a lost episode. That one's in the. We'll see if we ever get that one back. I don't know if this is gonna be 33 or 34. It's 34, legitimately, but
we're here.
We're here for it.
If you were at the live show at Pix, I appreciate you.
What's up? Live show at Pix. We're going to try to get those in. It looked good. We just need to get the audio, see if we can make that a more feasible, consistent thing. But it was tight. It looked tight. It was cool.
For those of you who don't know,
get it going.
We had a 5-hour block at Pix.
Yes.
We spent an hour of that block recording this on a stage, on bar stools, in the bar. And we should be able to provide that as a podcast available to you guys on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music going forward, but it also creates an opportunity for you, if you're interested, to come to Pix for our event and then actually be on the podcast.
Yeah, a little MJ38 night at Pix Bar here in San Antonio on the north side, right next to where Burn House used to be. Desire is what it's called now, I think.
Yeah, if you know where Desire is, then you know where Pix is. If you don't know where Desire is, that's where Pix is. But I'm sure you've heard of Desire. It's top 3 in the meta for clubs, so it's just right over there. It's like 1604 and 281, but you drive towards I-10 for like 10 minutes and then you're there.
Yeah, sweet little spot. But doing that pod. Welcome into this pod.
Welcome into this one, 34.
Keep it moving.
Yeah, we're keeping it hot and
but
fresh.
It's a little different vibes today. We're picking it up a little early. This is an early pod. The good morning pod.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, good morning.
Kanye West.
Back in this thing like an accordion.
Oh.
Okay, let's go.
We recording it.
Yeah, that's it.
But we're finna get this workout in. Hit some back day today. Oh yeah, I think it was when you hit back. Is that cool?
The reveal magnifico. It's back day, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, back's my favorite to lift.
Back at it again.
Back's so nice because it's hard for me to have a savings account in my real life, but my back is like my body saving account. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just do it and I don't look at it.
Never look at it.
Never look at it.
Just fucking recurring deposits.
Yeah. One day you look and you're like, I got 20 racks back
I
here.
got bi-weekly deposits.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's sick. I enjoy back a lot.
Yes.
I broke through.
Fucking love back. Love working out. Love it all, man.
Yeah, me too.
That Play-Doh shit. It's that Socrates shit.
Mm-hmm.
Them boys was yoked. Believe that. The philosophers.
People don't necessarily know about that. What do you want to tell them?
I think they were yoked.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. What was it on one of the Joe Rogan podcasts? They were talking about. It was Plato, right?
Yeah.
Plato.
I think Plato learned from Socrates, or Socrates learned from Plato.
Yeah, I forget the lineage.
And then there's another one that's more detached from the timeline that people talk about a lot, but that's basically growing up at the same time.
Yeah, it's like Descartes, Socrates, Plato, fucking what was the other one?
Demosthenes and Locke.
Yeah, there's so many. There's so many like philosophers that were kind of maybe not so many, but definitely a handful. Yeah,
for sure. There's a lot. There's a lot. If you take a class in college called philosophy.
There we go.
Yeah, if you take that class, then like you learn about the same people. I think like countrywide. You know what I'm saying? It's the same like eight to 10 people you would learn about.
Yeah.
We go on. Yeah,
But I'm pretty sure they were yoked up, bro. Pretty sure they were pushing boulders up mountains.
Yeah.
Just to push themselves literally to like the physical exhaustion, and then within that, I think there's some sort of chemical like brain like on a chemical level your brain releases and for sure that you definitely release like oxytocin and dopamine whenever you finish a workout, and like you literally just feel good about yourself. So like they were doing the same sort of thing. It definitely wasn't anywhere near as organized and structured as 3x10 on bench and then we're gonna go do some incline chest pulls. I think they were more so just like working out with whatever, pushing their body with whatever physically they had around them at the time to exhaust themselves and reach that place and reach those. Yeah, because I don't know. I think it like gets me to a flow state personally. So I think everyone could kind of, whatever you do physically, I think your body is able to, whenever you exhaust it to a certain point or whenever you use it and get in rhythm with yourself, like your thoughts and your physical body and your mental thoughts are like lined up and you're doing what you're telling yourself to do and you're like watching yourself do it. You're watching the whole process go down of like your mental and your physical like combine and talk to each other and coordinate and perform. And you're watching all this happen, and it's like a magical thing that goes on whenever you get to that. Like after I work out, I think I get to like a flow state. Like I'm just like freestyling, and thoughts are coming to me, flowing to me easily. Yeah, I'm like in a good mood. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think the philosophers were doing that shit.
Yeah, dude. That's fucking beautiful. The preach, brother. I was just like,
amen.
I'm over here. My eyes are like getting heavy. I'm getting a little water in my eyes. I'm like, man, that is what it does for me.
Yeah, I love watching me do that shit.
No, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah,
it's important.
The thing afterwards, we were talking about Plato like to work out just like you like to work out because it's doing something for your brain and accessing like these better thoughts and these better feelings and this better state of being. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like these people that thought about life so deeply, like they wanted to achieve that as well. That's like part of what they were doing there. Mm-hmm. Right. And
I think so. For sure.
Yeah. I think that's what you
Makes sense to me.
I was just annotating what you said. That's pretty much what you said. Right.
Yeah.
But when I'm in that place, it's different. Like it's fucking different. Like, for one, like my anxiety levels are way down. And then my judgment with no anxiety is just different. It's just different judgment at that point.
Yeah.
And that's also me. Because it's not like you get drunk and then like, let's say you have different judgment in that place too. But like, you wouldn't necessarily agree with your drunk judgment like that. Like, I think that maybe that's why we call it a spirit. Because something's kind of like inhabiting you at that point. And it's not a you that you would like necessarily want to be responsible for that judgment per se.
Yeah, all the time.
Right? But I think like it's different when I get to that workout state because I'm like, it's a truer judgment. I'm like, this is how I really feel. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the thoughts are more clear. Mm-hmm. I think. And yeah, the speed at which they come in and the clarity at which they come in with as well is like heightened. All that's more. It's increased. It's like you're getting deeper thoughts more quickly, more clearly, and it makes more sense. You're just like, oh, yes, I love this place. I have access to the information so much. It's just like a river, just flowing. It's just flowing. My chakras are aligned, or whatever it may be. I'm like aligned with myself
Yeah.
and doing that hard shit.
Yeah.
It works on so many levels. I fucking love that shit.
Yeah.
Plato would be my dog.
I think we'd be homies.
We'd be homies.
For sure.
Socrates.
He'd be sitting right there. It'd be fucking tight.
Yeah, it's like, what's up, y'all?
What's up,
What's
bro?
going on?
You excited for back day?
Yeah. Let's go fucking push some boulders.
Yeah. Okay, here's another thing. There's so much to unpack with every idea.
Yeah.
And I've seen like timelines. I'm like, I only have an hour to talk to these people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
One thing about
Your
working
life to
out,
live.
it's a big jump to say that working out makes you like a better person. Like that's almost what we were getting. I definitely saying that it makes me a better me.
That's definitely true, because I think being a better person kind of implies social interaction,
Right.
And I think
Judgment.
definitely better me.
Because of all the stuff we just said, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah. Because everyone just because you work out doesn't mean you're like good to other people as well.
True.
You can work out and be a fucking asshole. He's walking in. He's a fucking prick.
Dude, I've been accused of that. I may have even been like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Uh-huh.
I definitely went through a point in life where I did not care for the social part of the exchange. I'm like, what does he say? What does Cloud say? And then what? Not interested. Yeah.
Not interested.
To like everybody
Quite
though.
simply.
It was crazy to me, like 5 or 6 people that I don't really know that well coming up to me in the gym just to talk to me, mostly because I hit like a nice like physique change, and I'm in there every day, and I just like clearly popped off and like looked different from when I had started that trend. So if anybody had been in that gym like that whole time, they were like more likely to be like, just come up to me and be like, bro, you've been going crazy.
Hey,
Like,
what's up, man? I see you in here all the time.
yeah, which is like cool. But like I started having all these other thoughts like, what is it about you?
For what? What's your motivation?
This conversation is a you thing. Like I didn't go press A on me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm just playing my fucking game, bro. There's an NPC, or not NPC, but somewhat to a degree, NPC comes up to you and just like starts talking to you, creating dialogue. And you're just like, boop. Back to the quest.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Have a good lift, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I could just say that real quick,
Mhm.
but they can feel by my energy too. That's the other thing, is that it's like it would require me to lie to them for me to be like, at that point I was so not interested that like they couldn't help but walk away from that conversation being like, well, that guy was interested in that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's trying to kick a can, you don't kick it back. It's like, okay. I'll pick up my can, find someone else to kick it around with.
I've realized that there's something wrong about that. There's something wrong about that in my personal experience.
Like, with which part? Dropping the can and trying to invite someone to kick it, or not kicking it back?
Not kicking it back.
Okay, I think there's something wrong with both.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Am I right?
Yeah.
But I just
I didn't press A on you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I didn't, bro. Like when I press A on an NPC, imagine if I could just drag out all his dialogue for all of his scenes. Like sometimes
it's like Oblivion or Skyrim. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude.
Go
Like
on forever.
But sometimes when I'm pling Final Fantasy and I click on a random person, it just says ... and it's just one screen, and then you press A, and then you're not talking to him anymore.
Yeah.
Other people, it's like A, and you're getting all this information from all these. Like I'm just not.
Mm-hmm.
I try to make myself more open and available to connect to, so that other people can connect to my human experience for their own human experience's sake, because ultimately it's like, just like I have to do shit I don't want to do all the time. Like I got to do the dishes, and I got to fucking,
laundry, dishes, groceries.
And I got to work out. I don't want to do that all the time either, but like
takes time. Costs money.
I'm tired. And energy expenditure.
Yeah, it's literally physically exhausting.
Yeah. So all that to say, it's a broad, it's a big jump to say that working out just will like make your life better, make you a better person, because there's some people who don't have that integrated into their life at all, and it's kind of like painful for them to hear people who are quote unquote happy or have a body that they'd want, like for whatever they don't have, and they're projecting that onto this other person, and then that other person is saying, well, if you worked out, things would be better. That's like tough to hear, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
For people, there's people that just like going on a jog 3 times a week would be like a lot to ask. You know what I'm saying? It'd take a big life change.
Yeah.
And like Plato was pretty far removed from that, in my opinion. Like I see them fucking deadlifting tree trunks. You know what I'm saying? Like they're
Yeah.
fucking huge. Like that's why I want to go to the Louvre. You see the sculptures of these people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're yoked up.
Jacked, man.
Those Greek sculptures and shit.
And so
Jacked.
I think that people should work out. I think taking
Yes.
care of your health is the thing that accesses the frequency. Like you don't have to be jacked. Like even if you just
I think there's two parts to it too. I think there's like the working on the health part, and then there's also like the physical part, like just moving your body and like lining up those thoughts between mental and physical, like the two worlds that are going on, and like when they overlap, like something special goes on there whenever you're doing a physical thing. But then also there's like your health too, because you could be going to the gym and be yoked the fuck up, but like you eat like shit, like smoking and drinking all the time, and like
I was there.
You know what I'm
No
saying?
better
So it's
now.
like you're working out, but like you're not like your health is like a different thing. Like your health is like taking vitamins and stretching and drinking water and getting some good sleep. It's like taking part of your health is definitely important for sure and makes you feel better. But I think the physical, there's something there with the physical Venn diagram of existence where it's like the mental and the physical, then you're like experiencing it all at the same time and then watching all of it happen. There's like a fourth dimension. Yeah, I think you're looking at. I think my foot's hitting the.
Oh, no worries. They're doing inspections in my apartment
They might
complex
be
today.
pulling up.
Yeah, I was like,
Welcome to the pod.
That'd be so funny. That'd be hilarious. Yeah, so if you guys see some people walk in here, that's what's going on. But I think we're good. No, but I think it's beautiful, bro, because it's hard to explain to people what playing basketball does for me. Because there's almost every day I shoot for like 10 or 15 minutes just in the gym, even if I'm by myself. And like the 10 or 15 minutes, I've been doing that thing since I was like 12 outside in the driveway.
Yeah, just putting on some headphones and shooting around.
Yes, bro. And there's something that happens with like the music and like my body and like my thoughts. And I get like when it happens correctly, I get so free that like my body is just moving, like I'm not thinking about it at all. And I'm hitting like a turnaround, spin, jump in the air, kind of hang for a second and shoot a mid-range. And it's just like, wait. Everything I'm doing is just so smooth, so fluid, and I'm like draining these shots, which is cool because like it's nice to have something to shoot at when you're in that place because it really makes it apparent like what that Steph Curry frequency is because you're just so on the target and you're not thinking about it at all. Like, how could that be?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, at least I know. I think I know exactly what you're talking about because I definitely relate to that. I like having something to aim at, having something to shoot for sure. Everyone might have a different inclination, but I love basketball for that reason, or like beer pong. You know what I'm saying? And like I think partially why we like it or why I like it so much is because it feels as if like you're able to just like you're dramatizing truth and being able to hit the arrow in the bullseye. And like whenever you make a shot, it's just like I made that shot. Like I set a goal and then I executed some commands and tried to accomplish that goal, and then it happened. And it's like, yeah, that's what's up. There's something beautiful there that we get like gripped with.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're right. You're right as fuck. So many thoughts going on in my head.
Wait, we were talking about you're talking about shooting and the crossover between the mental and the physical, and yeah, you get to that free space. It's just lit.
The free space is crazy. It's so
just flowing, man.
Also, like, if I have like a running list of things that I'm not sure how I'm dealing with, sometimes I just gotta like fucking put that shit on a thumbtack because I'm gonna get to that free space at some point, and when I'm in that place, it's like I like call the opponent to the ring, and then I start doing like wrestling. Like I feel like I'm doing MMA with this like problem that I have. And when I'm like really, really free, I feel like I just like can grapple with everything. Like I can wrestle. That's really what it feels like is I can wrestle with these ideas. And like there's this beautiful thing that happens where like who I want to be in a sense where I actually like who I am, like no filter barred, like I'm really fucking with me. Like there's a way for that thing to shine through everything that's going on. Like sometimes I have to like figure out how I want to think about it. But I'm never going to have to make a compromise in that wrestling match where I don't like appreciate what's going on here. Because I think that that's just how it works. I think sometimes we're making compromises. Like in a relationship, sure, you have to make compromises, but with your own thoughts and your own self, like I think that there's like a way to there's a way for this life to be like perfect for you. And so if I have to deal with something in a certain way, there's like a way that I can deal with it where I still like maintain my integrity or
Mm.
maintain my conscience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, your soul.
Yeah. And I think that there's something so rewarding about maintaining those parts of my soul that like having to deal with the problem isn't so bad anymore. Like now I know what I'm doing, I know why I'm doing it, I know how it makes me feel, and that's how I'm doing it. Instead, it's just like problem in the first place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But the ability to do the judo or like the wrestling with the thought, sometimes I have to like wait until I feel like okay, like I'm good, like I'm like in this free space, I can think well, I'm like on my feet. And there's times where you're just thinking so much, like when you're freestyling and you're just like crushing a beat, that's so
Mm-hmm.
different than like the crusty-eyed feeling you have when you wake up in the morning. So like dealing with your problems when you're in that place, it's like nice, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, or it gives you those the elevated thoughts, or the maybe elevated thoughts, and also much more clarity on the thoughts that you get anyway. You're
Yeah.
just able to interpret information much more efficiently. You're better. We're all just information interpreters. That's all we're doing here.
Yeah, you're right.
Information interpreters and expressors. We're just expressing our information, and then we're interpreting a whole bunch of information. It's all just back and forth. And when I think that cycle of the interpret information gets fucking ramped up when we're on that shit.
Yeah,
When
true.
we're humming, we're just like, oh, I see all of it. I see all the information that's worth seeing, and I'm able to discard the bullshit and much more quickly and easily. I don't have to spend time. Like, is this bullshit? Like, no, I know what the truth is.
Yeah, yeah. From that place, the judgment's so clear too. It's so
Mhm.
nice, bro. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, my dad said that there's like people that are ultra processors, like in their trill life, like not even being on that state. Like, there's an amount of processing power, like quickness to like it could even be like hand-eye coordination, can kind of relate to the same thing I'm talking about. Just like your
Mm.
capacity to take things in per second. And then there's people that have a naturally high rate of that, but I think in that flow state, you're like super elevated into that thing where you're like,
Yeah.
it's nuts.
Yeah, I think it's like almost simultaneous.
Yeah, that goes on for sure. And then, um, I don't know. I don't know what the other thought was. The processing for sure. The flow state, just everything. Oh, this thought came to me the other day.
Mm.
Like your ears are always fucking open.
They're always on.
They're always on, bro. And we don't have like things don't present themselves as important enough to mark. Not everything we hear is important enough to mark.
100%.
Like-
You hear so much shit all the time. It's like you see so much shit. What's important to take note of what you know, or to take notice
hmm
of what you've seen or heard. So much.
There's so much, bro.
So much.
But I think that there's potentially your subconscious has the potential to process all of it, all of that you've ever heard.
All of it.
Like it could recall anything that you've ever heard,
Mhm.
potentially. I don't know exactly if that's how the brain works, but I don't think it doesn't work like that. Because like, there's no telling how much power processing you have up here and what your subconscious keeps. Like your subconscious just kept stuff from like when you were a baby. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Or some people's subconscious keep stuff from when they were in the womb trying to like be given birth to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so like,
Your entire life is in your subconscious.
yeah, it's all there.
It's all there.
And
It's
so,
all there.
so when you think about that, like pursuing these, unlocking like higher frequencies, these flow states and stuff like that, I think
Uh-huh.
that it would grant what would appear to be like superhuman like ability if you could just like remember. If your brain had the power to hyper process through everything you've ever heard and draw the thing that you need to know, because that's how this kind of works.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Maybe we get like super heightened and we can start going into past lives, into the archives, dog.
That's what I think. Some of that kind of happens on the hyper psychedelic experiences, because it's like loosening all these things, I think, and then like kind of just shining lights and activating parts of your brain that don't necessarily get super activated all the time. And so when those things are super activated, I think we're able to like, draw from our entire subconscious, like all of it.
Yeah. I think you were right. I guess part of what started some of this thought was the subconscious, because where there's only so much information, we're are able to perceive and like contend with even.
Yeah.
But I think your subconscious does take everything into consideration. The whole scope of all your days, every day you've ever lived. It's like your subconscious has all of that because you were awake or whatever. Just because it's like a computer. It's like we have those in the backlogs. We don't open them very often. Like,
Yeah.
hardly ever.
No, we don't.
But they're there. Some files are like starred, or you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
different colors.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad about how when I went to go see him in the past week, I was having this like kind of strange week where I would have these moments where I was like super flooded with a part of my life that I had like completely forgotten about, or was just so far removed from where I was at. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And like one of them was like I saw this. My dad fucks with Legos, and he had made this like Lego scenery, and it took me back to a bee farm that I went to go visit a lot when I was a kid. Like
Okay.
half a mile up the road from where our farm was that I grew up on.
In Indiana?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like 15 minutes away from like the city. Not very far, but like you're kind of out like in cornfields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's like a bee farm like half a mile up the road, and they did like
Tours and shit? Like
yeah.
Honey?
Yeah, imagine not like
Some samples?
not a bee factory, but more like
Yeah.
it was more like a honey farm, you know? Like they've got like stuff growing, and they had pumpkin patch rides and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
But it was dope.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we used to just go there a lot for like fucking whatever. We went for like Halloween one year.
Go kill time.
Right? And like, dude, so far removed from my life, and I saw that truck, and it just like took me right back there. I just was
Whoa.
Can smell the fucking
I haven't opened the dust on that file.
Right. That's almost exactly what I had told him. I was like, man, I'm having this weird experience where like just now it happened, but it's like that. And he's like, yeah, so your brain is like literally like a computer sometimes. And what happens is like computers, they have all the information that they've ever had. They have like they keep all that.
It's on there.
But the way that they store it is they have an index, and the index takes space. And like the index tells them like, I'm looking for this file. And then you go to that file and it's in this thing right here.
Mm.
But then if they don't want to have to access this memory, if they just want to make it like dead memory, then they get rid of the index for that thing. And now you can't go find it here to pull it there, but it's still in there. But that's like a more microscopic amount of space taken up because like the indexing is what makes it like a file that's usable.
Yeah, there you go. I see what you're saying.
And he's like, that's what happens with your memories too, is like we kind of like take things out of our index of like memory for us to draw on because there's like more important stuff for us to draw from. But then like sometimes you just get like deep rooted into like information that's in the dead space storage, and it's like it's a whole file. You're like, oh my god, I remember how it smells. Like,
yeah,
I remember how I felt that day. Like how cold it was. You know what I'm saying? It's so weird, bro.
Instantly.
Fucking.
It's hard
weird,
to do it on
bro.
command, or not like on command, but it's like unless you're like really just like sitting there meditating deep on thoughts and like trying to open up some of those old files. It's like I think life does it to you. You know.
Yeah.
The
for
same way
sure.
that it happened to you in that fashion. It's like you didn't like you weren't trying to like recollect childhood thoughts or like memories or trying to open up old files or anything.
I got my ankles
But
broke.
life will do it to you. Yeah, it'll remind you of something or open that shit for you, and you're just like, oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah. It's crazy how it's like that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something weird.
These weird human computer animals.
I don't know. I don't know.
Aliens.
Pursuing that's the thing that you got. This is why you got to work out. Is because like
Yeah, brother.
pursuing that heightened state is like it's weird becoming more self-aware. It's weird. Self-awareness is almost evolution because like at first, like I said, like you're like a kid, just like being controlled by your emotions more or less.
Kidding it up.
Like how do you tell a kid that emotion is drawing you're going crazy, like you're being too upset about this, like it has too much power over you, like you are not that emotion, like you are someone having that emotion.
Yeah.
And if you came to a different understanding, you might not even feel that way. But as a kid, you're like, this is how I feel. It's not like there's no detachment from like the anger or the upset feeling. And it's not like it's like that thing like is what I'm feeling.
That is what's happening.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like the difference between those two states of understanding is something that you find when you're pursuing the unlocking of this animal computer like machine. Like you're becoming exponentially like not only, I wouldn't necessarily just call it detached, but like exponentially more self-aware. And when
Mm-hmm.
you're more self-aware, the result is a better human. Like you're a better experience. Like you're not creating chaos. You're actually helping order.
Yeah.
And that's a big, it's an exponential swing. Like it starts getting like broad, wide and tall at the same time, like the amount of difference that you're making.
Yeah. 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 And being the hyper or not hyper, but yeah, more self-aware version, being able to determine how to act to, I guess, to bring more balance. Yeah. To bring more order or to bring chaos whenever it's the too much order and it needs to be done away with. You need to throw some things away. You need to restart.
Yeah, what's your
You
anchoring
just
force?
scratch
That's
it.
another problem.
Mm.
Because I think it's the right thing. I think doing the right thing is also part of unlocking this animal like machine science because doing the right thing grants you the state of consciousness that it takes. It's that higher frequency that it takes to unlock more of it. So without the pursuit of the
Mm.
right thing, you wouldn't quite hit that frequency that allows you to like become more self-aware. And doing the right thing is like hard for sure. But I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like ultimately we're here in the pursuit of trying to become those people, you know?
Yeah. That version of you.
Because if you were, because yeah, that's my anchoring force of like, if you are more self-aware, then what you would choose to do from that self-aware place would be to bring balance, would be to strike more order or be more dependable or more understanding, more empathetic. But
Mm.
like, I don't know if that's ever, maybe someone could be self-aware and still have their own selfish agenda, but I don't think you become self-aware with a selfish agenda.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That's why it's like there's a disconnect there. It's like, hold on, if could you could you use your superhero powers for evil? And it's like, no, you wouldn't be granted superhero powers if you were evil. I'm not saying we have superhero powers, but the exponential level of the self-awareness and what comes with that feels almost superhuman. Or the flow state feels super. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking Steph Curry right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is supernatural.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do think people might be doing that though. You know what I'm saying? People might be trying to use
Go
that
on.
superpower for evil, or that ability to process information and be more efficient. Fucking super animal, alien machines that we are,
Yeah.
and to use that for their own selfish agenda, their own benefits. But I think you did hit it though. I think you have to become self aware, and once you get that self awareness, I think you can choose kind of what to do with it. You can manifest or create kind of like any situation.
There's levels and layers. You got to pray for the players.
Yeah.
If someone becomes self-aware and then become nihilistic, pray for
Mm-hmm.
that player.
Yeah, it's like the yeah, it's the fucking the superhero and the supervillain story. It's like the origin stories are very similar, virtually across the board.
You're so right.
Remember
Well,
hearing that.
okay, so this is tight because I've been waiting to tie this back in with you, and I feel
Uh-huh.
like I'm having a Jordan Peterson moment because
Yes.
this is the lingering thought, and it doesn't fit here, but I plugged it in, and I think it works. Um, Taking it back to where we started with smoking.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to provide a lot of context, but ultimately the thought that was worth sharing was I created like a hole, and not like a hole in my brain or a hole in my spirit, but just like if you could just imagine like in my inner garden, in my inner matrix, and if that inner matrix was represented with like a house and a yard, the smoking dug like a 6 foot wide, 6 foot deep hole in my yard, like a fucking Stanley Yelnats hole. Like if you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
and it doesn't necessarily look good, but it doesn't necessarily look bad. But it's like, why is that fucking hole there, right?
Mm.
And all I had to do was keep smoking, and that hole got a little bit deeper all the time. And that hole is like a habit. That hole is like a neuron firing sequence,
Yes. That's what you're saying.
and part of that sequence was the actual like smoking of something like a pacifier, like Duncan Trussell calls it. It's like anxiety relieving to say, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to change my state. Now, the state doesn't have to be relieving. It's nice that the nicotine drops dopamine, but ultimately just the control of saying, I don't like this, but I have control over this. Now I feel this way. It could literally probably be liquor too. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't like this, but I have control over this. Now I feel this way. It's just the control of what you're going through,
Yeah. Your state at the
right?
moment.
So that's something itself, and then the nicotine addiction is something itself, and then both of them are when I want to describe them as wholes, it's because like the nicotine addiction part is like my brain didn't function as well when I quit doing nicotine. Like it was like the exponential state change we were talking about, playing basketball and like getting to that free state, and how lucid and in rhythm and how creative your thoughts can come to you lightning quick. Like that thing, I normally have a baseline of like, let's say I start at 70 every day, just natural free flow state. And I can get it to 100 and we start having superstar like experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had quit doing nicotine, I was falling to like a 60 when I woke up. And then some days I was a 50 all day long. And it was like, you know, I kind of took it as like, okay, I'm going through withdrawal. Like it's a little bit harder to like feel really free right now because my body's like craving a drug that it's this hole. Like I can't just like fill it overnight, more or less. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It couldn't fill it in a week. And then like 30 days into not smoking, I bought a vape on my day off, and I was just really stressed out. That's when I realized it was really a stress relief thing, because I was just really stressed out, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna get this vape. Then at the end of the day, when I connected all those dots, I was like, damn, bro, it's crazy. But it kind of worked out because I think like more or less I was supposed to experience like a little backslide. Like if you eat healthy for a month and then have a cheat day, that's kind of like almost part of the process, is realizing you don't need the cheat day actually. But at first it feels like pushing so far into unknown territory. You have this natural inclination to eventually step back on the boat of known territory, which would be your old bullshit habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is my old bullshit habit, and I did it. One, it made me sick. Like the whole first day that I smoked on it, I couldn't really play basketball. I was so lightheaded and I felt like I was going to pass out. Legitimately didn't feel great. It's like, obviously this thing's not good for me. But once I got past that, the next 2 days at work were like my best 2 days at work in the 30-day span. Like A+ performances.
Just on top of the ball. Just recall, retention, memory, articulation.
Energy level.
Yeah.
Energy level, and let's say like it's just like reps per minute, like the amount of interactions I had per hour, like way higher, because I was just right there, just all night, just boom, 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 boom. Felt like I was playing massive defense all night. I never got tired, never wore out, nothing bothered me, just locked in, bro.
Yeah, I think part of the nootropics, right? And like kind of nicotine does, or nicotine kind of has that effect.
It does, right? That's part of it for sure. And I was using like mouth patch nicotine. But I don't know if like the consumption rate is way different, or like because
your body processes it different.
Right, creating different like actual chemicals that my brain is feeding off of. No fucking clue, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of sucked almost, because I was like, damn, bro, I want to be like that right here. I want my sober me to be that cold and that locked in and that like boom boom bah. I gave him the boom boom bah those 2 nights. But like. Just like there's consequences to smoking a cigarette in a room, and those consequences are people's perception of the smell and the natural disgusting of the turn off of smoking. The problem with smoking the vape even is that like it requires, let's say I'm watching a movie with my dad in the room and he doesn't want me to smoke in the house. That means I have to go outside to go puff the vape. That means we have to pause the movie and do like a whole break and create this time gap between what I'm doing and what I want to be doing, because I need to feed this thing. But those things allow you to just be like, bloop. Nothing changed, bro.
People be hitting them bitches in the restaurants, dog. People are crazy these days.
The vapes?
Yeah,
bro.
Yes.
When I go to a restaurant and I was smoking, fuck yeah, bro.
Believe me.
Yeah, because it's like, bro, like
Magic Dragon.
One, the science of it is like, you're telling me to wear a mask. Like, it doesn't do anything. It's a vapor. It's not smoke. It's vapor, which is like scientifically different. It's not doing anything to your walls. It's not doing anything to anybody's health. It's like, bruh.
It's chilling.
Chill, bruh. Like, I have a nicotine addiction, more or less.
Bruh.
But there are social ramifications to leaving the table, to having to go outside, to missing. You miss the scene. If you're a smoker, you miss the scene a lot. That's like one of the ramifications of having the addiction. And the metaphysics is you have to be absent sometimes.
Yeah, I think our producer, Ace, the last time I went to go see him to get our show versions for this past performance at Pix, I was getting those show versions from him, and we were just talking, and yeah, he was just, I forget how he even got into the subject, but he was just talking about smoking, and he was like, yeah, man, it's because he used to smoke cigarettes a lot. Or I guess that was his, because now he smokes vapes, but he was smoking cigarettes, and he would say, he's like, yeah, man, whenever I made that switch from smoking cigarettes to smoking vapes, he's like, I feel like I got so much more work done, because whenever I would have to be smoking cigarettes, like I'd have to like pause the sesh, we'd have to go outside, smoke, and then come back in and then like resume where we were at in the creative process of making music. So he's like, ever since I switched it over, it's like we're making music the whole time now. I never have to like leave the room. Never have to leave the the space to go feed that thing, I could feed it with this new method here,
Yeah.
and avoid that, at least negative work ramification.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Like, I think
It's a real
that
thing.
you're taking some. Like, I'm making myself faster than I should. I smoke this and I get a pro. Like, but I think that there's a con somewhere. Like, there's a balancing of all these things, you know? That's like, stand on what you said because every dog will have his day. Like, I love that 21 Savage line. It's one of my favorites from American Dream.
Nice.
Because it's like, you don't have to reach over your edge. You don't have to reach over your edge to try to take your thing. Like, every dog's gonna have his day. It's better to wait until it's your day, and then you'll be hurt. Like, if you're reaching forward the whole time, then you're diminishing from what you already have secure on the inside. It's like what you have on the inside is like good enough. Don't be like trying to go past that. Sometimes that's why I don't like the smoking thing, because it's like I'm trying to take more energy. I want to perform better than what my natural state of performance would have been. But then on the backside, maybe I die 3 years earlier. It's like 3 years of what that performance got taken for this performance,
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you think that you need to take from here to give to here, that's a famine thought. It's like that's thinking you don't have enough here.
Yeah, scarcity mindset.
And that's not the frequency it takes to do these things, bruh. It's a this thing, not a fucking this thing.
yeah.
For
real. Trying to elevate out of here.
Yeah, so the hole is scary. The hole is scary because you don't know. So yeah, I smoked for like 6 years, you know what I'm saying? I had a lot of anxiety, had a lot of fucking discomfort with life in general. Ease some of that shit out, right? But taking anything, benzodiazepine or fucking Xanax is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Creates a fucking deep hole really fast.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
All the pharmaceuticals, liquor, nicotine, weed, and then all the pills. Any and all of them. Pain pills or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Adderall, all that shit.
All of that, bro. And then also, man, with drinking, like, it almost made me get drinkers, dog. Because, like,
drinkers?
Like, understand them to a degree.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Because I don't really get why we'd just be putting poison in our body to feel loose. I get it a little bit. I don't get the everyday part of it because I'm like,
can't do it.
So much poison in your body, you know what I'm saying? To feel shitty all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a thing that happened when I hit that vape, and I performed so well at work those next 2 days. It's like if drinkers, if they feel at some point in the night the way that I felt at work those 2 days, whenever they get into their drinking session, they get that heightened state of thinking, heightened state of feeling, like they tap into like a truer understanding of what's going on or something like that, then it's hard for me to hate on that, even though it's just a different form,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if drink will make us better at our job.
Some people though,
maybe a little bit. Yeah.
If you have the whole of liquor in you and you're at work and you take one shot for the next hour, I think you're gonna perform better than you did all day.
Yeah, you're better conversationally. You're more at ease. You're more like just smooth and comforting and warm, and there's no stress or anxiety. Like you're able to handle situations and handle customers.
Yeah.
Handle conversation with ease.
Yeah.
You're not worried about it. So I guess it could, yeah. I see what you're saying.
It's a bigger problem though, because you don't want to have to do that. Just like I don't want to have to do this to feel that way. You gotta. That's what I'm saying is like I think it's gonna take me like 30 days of mouth patches, and slowly I'm gonna diminish out of like my natural baseline for free flow state, and then at the end of the 30 days I'll hit the vape, and hopefully over time, over months, the separation between where my natural state is and where I get taken on the vape, like don't get so far away from each other. I think you'll always feel like you think faster when you smoke. But I need my baseline to be closer to thinking fast. Like so this is crazy. So like, yeah, when my natural state, like I'm standing in the hole and then I hit the vape and I float outside of the hole. But like ultimately, if I can get the hole closed, then the difference will only be like 6 inches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
100%.
It takes a while though. It's going to take anybody a while.
To fill it back in.
I thought it was going to be like 7 days.
Yeah, maybe with some things it might be that easy. But I guess with other holes are bigger and deeper. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some are easier, probably. Some are probably, alcohol is more difficult, I imagine. It'll kill you if you try to get out of that hole too fast.
Yeah, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own holes and their own matrix, their own house metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yard and house.
The health thing is hard too, bro, because I was feeling like shit. Like my health was bad. Like I'm getting lightheaded at the gym. Like I almost might pass out. So it's filling the hole is painstaking is what I'm trying to say. That's not straightforward either. Like if you just quit eating shitty food and you're like, no, I'm going to be healthy now. It's like you might have to go get cholesterol medicine. Your blood sugar might be fucked up because you're built a whole body around someone who takes in a lot of fatty food. Now you've got extra shit that you're not using anymore. Like all of that shit is like really tough to change body chemistry all the way through. It's like a fucking. So yeah, that's the other part about filling the hole that's difficult is like, it's not just like, okay, now I'm doing it this way. It's like, it's going to be tough to do that and to justify quitting something you're addicted to over and over and over again through more challenges that present themselves. I'm just happy it didn't I'm happy it wasn't 20 years of drinking. That's going to be really fucking hard to decide you don't want to do that every day anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy the hole's not any wider or deeper than it is already, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, thank God.
It's cool,
Thank
bro.
God. We all got our holes that we're dealing with. We all got our demons.
Yeah, and at some point, like, people just smoke casually. Like, you can just be a casual smoker.
Yeah.
It's not always that difficult. Like, eventually you get to a place where if you have that demon under control, maybe you can have a beer at your daughter's wedding. It's, like, not a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a balancing act. We're all balancing act here. We're all fucking trapeze artists and tightrope walkers.
Super true. Ultra true.
Doing our best. Shit, yeah, bro. We want to wrap her up. We'll end this one about an hour or so in. Finna go hit this lift. Get our Play-Doh on. Get your Play-Doh on.
This one for the gym boys and the gym girls.
Gym goers, all ages.
We cutting this short. Go ahead and hit your lift.
Go get that shit in. If you don't go to the gym, use your body. Connect to that. Feel that mental and that physical overlap of this Venn diagram of existence. It's like, oh shit. I'm controlling my body. That's what's up.
For real.
I'm watching myself control my body.
Yes. 20 minutes of yoga on YouTube. I used to Google 20 minutes beginner men yoga.
Boom.
And there's a really cool video with this guy from California. He's kind of a hippie. And I just did that shit at home. Like
20-minute home yoga, bro. 20-minute jump rope. You got a little jump rope?
Boom.
Boom. We're in this bitch. You feel great. You feel 10 times better
10
when
times.
you started. 20 minutes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we finna go get it in for a good little hour and change.
Yeah, you can take one step forward. One step forward. Just take one step forward. It's so hard sometimes, but that's all it is.
Every day.
Hell yeah.
We in this bitch.
We in it, bitch.
Keep going. We pushing. New music is already out. Been jumping that or bumping that. Let's go. Appreciate y'all. We're doing more pick shit eventually. More podcasts, more clips. Everything's coming back into rotation. We keep it moving. Making the next songs already. We're going forward. Looking through beats.
First down.
We got a couple songs, got a couple potentials, a couple lyrics, a couple hooks, maybe a couple verses here and there, a couple bars. It's all in the works. It's all going forward. 38 season, 38 takeover this year. Come on, 20.
Yeah, if you see it, play it. You'll be caught up.
Yeah. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Kill it. See y'all later.
Love you.
Rolling through the city to the light show. Really ain't no telling where